the way to prepare the tea is to actually take it, water just off the boil and to pour it over it. Oh, I'll give you some technical terms so you can sound real fancy at a tea tasting party. If you're tasting tea at a tea party, it is called tea liqueur.
Tea liqueur.
Tea liqueur,
really?
yes, it has a name. If you are taking tea leaves or flowers and you're steeping them, that's referred to as an infusion. Okay. That's the herbalist term. If you are using denser material, let's say you're using bark or roots or twigs it takes a little more oomph to actually get them, the materials and the nutrient out of the plant material, then that's called a decoction. And a decoction is made by submerging the material in water in a pot on the stove with a lid on. You bring it just to a low simmer, not a rolling boil or anything, but just to a simmer, and then you keep it at that simmer for about 15 minutes. That's going to extract the beneficial nutrients out of that particular material. That's called a decoction. So an infusion for the finer materials, a decoction for the heavier material.
Oh, I had no idea.
So now you know something about being an herbalist. But I also want to talk to you about something I found, and this shocked me because I was ignorant about this, and it has to do with things being organic. I thought if I was buying things that were organic, that was the creme de la creme, and they weren't using any pesticides. That's wrong. They can use pesticides if it's organic. And in fact, if something's labeled organic, it doesn't mean that everything in the product is organic. And if you go from one country to the next, their standards for what's organic are different depending on the country. So I'm looking at, okay, the standards for the US are different from the standards from India or different from the standards from China, and they all allow you to use some level of pesticides, but up to a certain maximum amount. And then at that point, it's considered conventional agriculture. So when you think about it, if you're in a large-scale organic production, you're going to be focusing on monoculture a lot because that makes it easier to harvest. If you have one whole field of a particular type of plant, and remember that, insects love those, and if they find one, they're going to be finding them all over the place, and they're going to just decimate a crop. So they have to use something in order to get the insects, to keep them at bay. What I do when I'm growing things myself, because I do everything on a small scale, is I will plant my plants, but usually in 3 different spots of my yard, because I don't use pesticides. And if there's pest pressure and some of the little bugs happen to find one of the plants, I was like, have at it, that's yours. Just stay away from the other 2, please.
Oh,
so I have my little bait areas for them to go to. So okay, that's yours, I'll share. And if it gets too bad, I'll just take a hose and spray them off. Or, sometimes I'll mix a little bit of soap, and I actually make my own soap so it's not harsh, and mix that in with it and spray that. And what that does is it gives the bugs a tummy ache where they're like, oh, this doesn't taste nearly as good as I thought. I'm going to go somewhere else. So that's the most that I will do with my plants. So when I grow them myself, because I don't use any pesticides or chemicals, my standard is really better than organic. So now I grow as many things as I can for my teas, but some things just don't grow in Florida. Florida's subtropical where I am. And it needs the cold weather. It can't take the salt air. It can't take the sandy soil, which is devoid of most nutrients. And it's a very harsh environment to grow things in. So I can grow things like my rose petals and my lemongrass and my mandarin peel, which are wonderful, but I can't grow everything. And so what I do is I go to organic sources that I know are pristine, and they follow their farmers, and they just don't take anything. Because, for instance, chamomile is a very common plant that's used in herbal teas. Well, I was listening to a lecture from another herbalist who really investigates this, and she had said, well, Egypt is a huge producer of chamomile. The environment is very good for them, and even if they're growing things in organic standards, if they're using water from the Nile River to irrigate their crops, you're introducing more pollutants because the Nile is the most polluted river in the world.
Really?
So you have to consider, okay, well, where is the water coming from? Where is, and you have to look at all these components. So that was eye-opening to me. So just be careful when you're out there purchasing your teas. If you're not growing things like I am, and if you're not buying things from Raining Wildflowers, which, hey, be my guest. If you want to buy something, you can go to my website and do that. But if you don't, if you're just out there and you're buying different teas, just go in with like, okay, a little awareness, maybe more awareness than you had before about how long has this product been actually sitting on the shelf. When they're on the shelf and they lose their color and they lose their aroma, and then they're going to lose their flavor and their effectiveness. The way some manufacturers counteract that is by adding artificial ingredients to improve the flavor and improve the aroma. So if you see, read the ingredient list. If you see artificial flavor, artificial color, in my book, that's a run away and don't touch this type of thing. If you see something that says natural flavor or natural flavoring, I'm sorry, but there is nothing natural about natural lemon flavor or natural lemon flavoring. If they're really going to use lemon, they will say lemon. As soon as they add the word flavoring or flavor to it, that means it's a synthetic recreation to make your tongue and your brain feel like it's experiencing that. And a lot of times they have to add those things because their product is so old or has been dried improperly that it's not going to have the attraction to people to want to taste it again.
Yeah.
So that's another big thing. So read your labels, make sure you know what you're getting so that when you're consuming it, you know that you're getting the benefits from these herbs that you're expecting to.